Hi everyone, my name is Marissa. Welcome to my divination channel. My purpose for being here with you guys is to aid and assist you in aligning with your highest possible timelines within this incarnation. So you are actualizing and going above and beyond what it is that your soul had intended for this incarnation, okay? And tarot is one of the ways that I've been guided to actualize my own mission and divine destiny. And so, yeah, I'm very honored to be sharing this space with you guys. So these readings that we're looking into today are an aspect of your soul's blueprint, okay? Nothing that we experience internally or externally is ever by accident, and all serves a divine purpose. So we're looking into what fears and misperceptions you are currently overcoming, at least at the point that you guys will be drawn to these videos, okay? We'll just see what progress you are making in overcoming and untangling this karmic knot, not just for yourself, but, you know, as within, so without. It's a collective service that you guys are doing, all right? So we have 4 groups to choose from today. Over here to the left, we have pile number 1, pile number 2, number 3, and number 4. Take your time, and whenever you're ready, we'll hop right into these readings. Hi, pile number 1. Welcome to your reading for what fears and misperceptions you are currently overcoming. So I've already reshuffled the moon card back into the deck. I haven't looked at any of your cards yet. We're going to get into all of this real time together. But before we get started, I'll just have you take a deep inhale into your low diaphragm, allowing your low belly to fully expand. Suspend your breath at the top as long as you can, and whenever you're feeling ready, go ahead and release that inhale. Feel your shoulders melt down your back as you become more centered and present in your being. And we'll go ahead and get into this. Okay, so the guides of pile number 1. What do we need to know about current fears and misperceptions that we're in the process of overcoming? So first we have perspective. None of this matters. Zoom out, common ground. Okay, so we might be getting a little bit carried away in the human drama, okay, and a little bit swept up in our own human affairs, pile number 1, and maybe taking things, you know, I'm a little bit cautious saying this just because I know how, like, I don't know, discompassionate it can sound sometimes, but maybe taking things a little bit too seriously, okay? There is a delicate balance for sure. Activated earth, power places, ley lines, trust where you're led. Yeah, so already with the combination of these cards, I am sensing that you guys might be like in the process of making a decision, or like this could just in general be like you guys making decisions might be challenging, or this could really be reiterating that when it comes to making decisions, there might be a hyper fixation on doing the right thing, right? Coming to the right outcome, or putting so much pressure on yourself because, again, we're taking this human incarnation too seriously, or thinking that you could get it wrong, right? Whenever we're acting from a place of just like feeling pressured, we're like, that's creating tension within the subtle body, right? And so it's almost like if you think of a pipe, you're creating tension around it. You know, it's like it's tightening the pipe, and so it's actually clamping down your ability to channel more of your soul stream with less inhibition, right? I actually see this as like literally what I'm seeing as I'm explaining this analogy. And so the more relaxed you can be, right, with a zooming out, to me, this is like a relaxation. This is kind of like the hanged man type of energy I'm getting. The more zoomed out you can be, and you're in a space of peace, peace invites clarity. And so we're much more likely, not only are we like enjoying our human experience more, but we're much more likely to make decisions that are in alignment with our soul's blueprint, because we're like, well, you know, I can't really get it wrong. And like, there's no pressure. And so through pressure, distorted things happen, right? And so overall, this is either that what fears and misperceptions you're overcoming. I love that this is literally about perspective, okay, is like the first word that comes up, because this is most certainly like a perception thing that you guys are currently unraveling, and it's affecting how you're making decisions. It's affecting I shouldn't say it's affecting so much as you're learning how to be more just confident in betting on yourself, betting on your higher aspect more to guide you, and to not question it as much. And this could be just like a decision right now that's kind of overwhelming you. And so all of these fears are coming up. Like you have an external thing that seems like a really big deal that is like bringing up all of these fears to the surface, which is great because you got to heal it to, in order to heal it, we have to feel it. And having these external permission slips is necessary for that alchemization process. This could also just be saying too, that just in general, you might just notice this, like it feels like you're kind of bumping up against your external reality and like questioning your every move or whatever. And maybe just taking anything too seriously, whether it's your spiritual practices, wanting to do right spiritually, and just like, how does a spiritual person, carry themselves, or like just putting yourself in molds that don't actually need to be there, that kind of constrict a more natural and seamless flow. Okay. So let's get deeper. We have the shadow. Yeah. Okay. So maybe there's a lot. I just saw 444 on the clock. So meeting yourself is definitely something that came up. This is also like, to me, this is the moon card, can also is akin to this as well. So I feel like your guys' experience at the moment might be kind of intense. And I'm also hearing that for some of you, it might be like fear that you've made a wrong decision, or that like regretting past decisions or something, because things could have been different, or like now you're on this timeline, now you feel like you're on like an irreversible timeline or something, and spirit is also coming through and just saying like, trust where you're led. Like I feel like we do such a disservice when we kind of judge past versions of ourselves that were really just doing the best that they could, and also understanding that everything is in divine perfection. Okay. And that out of the infinite number of timelines you could have merged with, that were consistently choosing, like within each millisecond, like all of those infinite timelines within infinite timelines led you to the choices that you made, so trust that with whatever maybe uncomfortable shadows you're seeing right now and reflections within or without, trust it. Okay. Because I feel like something that the guides have been working with me with personally and showing me like directly is when we have this sense of judgment, or the should, coulds, woulds, or I wish I would have done this different. That's like when, like that's literally being in the same frequency as the problem, or the perceived problem, the misperception, right? That you're trying to clear. And how do we clear it? By shining light on it. What is light? Light is parallel to truth, right? The more we understand something, the more we bring illumination to something, we don't fall for its tricks as much, and we're set free, right? And so it's like giving yourself permission to zooming out of the situation and understanding, like when you're more peaceful is when you're much more likely to receive divine intuition and divine clarity around whatever this aspect is that feels like it's deeply tumultuous. But I do feel like it has something to do with like decision making in general, and like maybe judging yourself for how you've made decisions. But it's like, no, like there's a reason, and this is going to be over so soon, this entire incarnation. And so you can trust, okay? Just trust those decisions you made, trust where you're at now. And I feel like the illumination that you receive, just with intuitively how deeply karmic this thing feels, and just like maybe even confusing in some aspects, it's part of your service for the planet as a light worker. Okay. And I know we don't always like to hear that, but that's honestly the people I work with and that are drawn to my content and to me are beings that are not just on mission for themselves. It's more so for, the service to others versus service to self. So we also have the eternal child. Yeah. I feel like this is maybe in some senses like activating this. Okay, so I had to put in my headphones to block out some noise, because I say this too in my personal readings. Like if I hear even like, I can get so distracted by little noises that it can really take me out of a channeling state quite easily. So I put my headphones in and it did something weird with my my audio recording that's recording my voice. Okay, so anyways, so I feel like a big part of what fears and misperceptions, you know, that you're currently, like, the overall blueprint and the codes that I'm getting from this is like, you know, maybe you've forgotten how to laugh in the process of taking this too seriously, or it's kind of like drained the juice out of you. And I don't want to say what you're doing or what you're experiencing is wrong at all, because, you know, we really do have to go through those deep inner pits, right? We really have to go through the underworld in order to really appreciate the light more. Like, one of my favorite sayings from Bashar that I deeply resonate, which is a channeled entity, is that, you know, the deeper that we're pulled into the dark, it's called the rubber band effect. If you imagine a rubber band, the deeper you pull it into the darkness, when it's finally released, the farther and the faster it flings into the light. You know, and I can attest to this. Like, this is why I don't really resist these states anymore, because I understand, all right, I know I'm deeply in the shadow and I'm not going to fight it. And so because of that, it's like I'm getting the sense of needing to bring a lighthearted energy around this that we were discussing before, in order to help bring to the light whatever this area of focus that you currently have, in terms of maybe judging yourself, or being worried about a specific situation or a specific decision that you have made or are going to make. It's all tied into the same thing, which is really like an inability to trust, or we're not trusting as much as we could where spirit is guiding us, right? The stone, yeah, okay, makes so much sense, because the stone really does talk about, this is like, whenever I pull up this card, I see like a stone or a pebble being thrown into the water, and so it's like the ripple effect that even the smallest things make. And so to me, this is the card of like little things adding up over time. And so, yeah, I feel like there is a deep questioning of yourself, and maybe even like judging where you are, and maybe even comparing where everyone else is at in comparison to you or something. And I'm also hearing the importance of understanding the only way out of shadow is through it. All right. And, you know, it's like one of those things where you have to consume it or it will consume you. What I mean by that is not repressing it, but you know, it's about like suspending your thought in the midst of these deep purges and letting that purification process happening, not letting the mind take over, because that's what's going to keep you within this illusion, right? Within that moon type of energy. But the more that you'll start to gain this lighthearted perspective around this, I promise, like, if you can just stick with it and just keep as much as you can, remind yourself, okay, this shit's going to be over so soon. Like, all right, like, is this really what I want to worry about, you know, that my entire life? Or, you know, that do I really want to color my days with this low grade anxiety? Or, you know, can I just like allow myself to have fun even in the midst of this thing, you know, whatever it is. It's like, it's interesting, because it's like, you know, people that get diagnosed with like terminal illnesses or something, it's like finally that catalyst gives them permission to like lighten up and not take it so seriously. And they experience true joy, you know. I'm not saying that that's going to happen or anything. I'm just using that as an analogy. Like, maybe we bring our perception into that space of understanding that we are all, you know, in some, you know, we're all kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say terminally ill, but because that could come across wrong. But I mean, we're all like, you know, walking each other to death, you know, to our deathbeds. And so you don't know when it can happen. And so give yourself permission to live a little bit more from that space and see what's born of that. So we'll get deeper into this with the tarot here. So what fears and misperceptions is pile number 1 currently in the process of clearing, please, Spirit? What fears and misperceptions is pile number 1 currently in the process of clearing, please? Okay, whoops. Yeah, that one wants to come too. And this one. And this one. Okay. We have the moon. Look at that. Yeah, that it is very moony. So, yeah, I feel like those beings that are drawn to this is something that has been a part of your experience maybe for quite a while, or it seems like a karmic knot that like won't let go of you. There's so much confusion around this area of your life, or around this decision that was or was not made, and maybe even like self-judgment, and again, coming back to not really trusting where you're led, and even wondering too, like, if I just didn't do that one thing, if I like actually listened to my intuition and I didn't do this, you know, where would I be now? And it's interesting because in mysticism, we start to learn about truth simultaneity, which is all possible realities are happening at once, right? All infinite aspects are happening, but there's a reason why this specific timeline was the one that you chose. Okay. And so I feel like just once we can release the mind from like trying to battle with a 3D and how it looks and how we think it should look different, that's when our energy naturally ascends and we start to see that higher perspective, the 5D perspective, which is nothing is out of place. And even the hardest things that we've experienced, I love how like Matthias De Stefano put it. He was on Aubrey Marcus podcast. He's a being that's on, on the platform Gaia. You guys might be familiar with him, but he's an entity that when he speaks, you deeply resonate with his truth. Like, this dude is not bullshitting. He remembers many of his past incarnations within other planetary systems, as well as other civilizations that have existed at different times on this planet. And he often puts it that in these other dimensions, that the angels and demons, what we would call angels and demons from this third dimensional perspective, are actually working together, because like when we're not listening to like the kind, gentle nudges of our angels, they're like, all right, we got to send in that car accident, or we got to send in that kind of, wake up call that is going to get the attention of this person that, has a specific blueprint, has a specific mission, might be like slipping up or something, so nothing is out of place. And whether it's good, bad, or ugly, whether you would deem it good, bad, or ugly, it's like trust, what else are you going to do? Like kick and scream, it's like, this is going to release so much of your Shakti, which I feel like is being eaten up by trying to perceive this from the same level, from the same third dimensional level that it's happening on, versus like loosening up, zooming out. We have the Page of Swords, maintaining like innocence of mind. Okay. Like, purity of mind, staying curious around the situation is really important. Yeah. That's like the very childlike energy, is curious, open-minded, wondering, like explorative, like reminding ourselves, like, it's so interesting in this modern age where we have like science, which science is like always in the like dust of mysticism, because a lot of the things that mystics have been talking about forever is like, now science is like kind of catching up and confirming some of these things, so if it's something that your mind can't comprehend from this level, just trust that it's maybe because it's a very spiritual thing, and you can't rely on your logical mind to try to figure it out, because this is something that is rooted much deeper, and probably a big part of this catalyst and why it's written in your soul's blueprint is to shatter you out of that kind of black and white thinking and that over logically, and trying to rationalize kind of thinking. Death. Yeah, deep transformation. That is, I feel like, yeah, this is going to catalyze a different, like a new version of yourself. This could even, yeah, I feel like this is going to feel extremely monumental when you overcome this, that that you're currently in the process of overcoming. You're going to feel like a new individual, because it's like, I feel like the extremity of what I'm seeing here in terms of how confused pile number 1 feels around this is like the extent of freedom you're going to feel when you are out of its grips. So I can really feel why, like the relevancy of why this confusion. It's like confusion is the gateway into clarity. It's like the more confused we become about something, we can be sure that we are on the brink of either psychosis, which I don't think you guys would, either like deepening our insanity and our karmic propensities, or literally it's like a Zen koan. Whatever this is like a Zen koan. You're not meant to be able to rationalize it, and it's going to set you free. And yeah, you're experiencing more freedom and experiencing the true nature of reality, which is here, presence. But yeah, you're going to feel very renewed holistically, like spiritually, emotionally, on the other side of this. 5 of Wands. So yeah, deep battle within yourself, I feel like, is happening. Page of Cups. These same 2 cards came up in a different spread recently on one that just went live, or the reading that just went live before this. Yeah, so this is self-forgiveness, okay? I feel like you've been grappling with yourself for a while about just decisions that you've made and past versions of yourself, because you have adopted a lot of, you're going to be affected by the planetary consciousness. And so maybe you've gone through your awakenings and you're like, fuck, I would have done things so much differently. It's like, maybe consider those things needed to be laid in place because they were an intricate part of your blueprint. And what, now you're asking certain questions. It's like, if anything, if something was even 2 degrees off of how it went, you wouldn't have been set up perfectly for your mission. 2 of Cups and 6 of Cups. Yeah, this could be something that has been, roots to childhood for sure. I'm hearing something about unworthiness cord. So this could just be triggering like a deep sense of unworthiness that we can all have to a certain degree. But I'm hearing that whatever this thing is around, there's a lot of symbolism here of whatever, like pile number 1, I feel like this area, you think it's just this area, but it's actually rooted to something even deeper that is remaining very elusive to you. It's linked to a deep karmic wound or like a deep childhood wound. And so it's like, I feel like the plane that you're operating at is up here, but the depth of what it really is inviting you to unearth is like way down here. Okay, and so that's kind of what this internal grappling is about. It's like the weed will continue to sprout, right? It'll keep coming up. It'll shoot its little heads out left and right until we get to the level to like pull out the root of it. And so you're getting deeper, all right, through stillness, through silence, through not hyper fixating on it and remaining curious and like, okay, I don't really know. None of us really know what the fuck is happening here. And like, I can at least trust, where I'm led and trust that it's going to work out. And there's a deeper reason for it, or at the very least it's going to be over soon, whatever you got to do to kind of loosen it up, like take off the edge and loosen up. Because then I feel like, there's a lot here about self-forgiveness. And there's something very deep here that it could even be like affecting all other aspects of your life, and you might not even be realizing it, right? So the symbolism I'm seeing here is like with the unworthiness cord, we don't see how, or maybe we do, but we don't see how when we're operating from that level, it's like we can be repelling situations that we actually want because, and inviting in situations that we don't because there's like deep patterns of like sabotage when something good comes around, or patterns of underlying patterns that we don't even really know how the extent to which they're influencing our life. And so I feel like this is a deep catalyst that is it's really taking you into the depths of the underworld. And I feel like once you shatter through this illusion, you're going to feel so free. You're going to feel very like extremely renewed. And I feel like the biggest point of guidance that your guides are coming through and saying here is zooming out and not hyper fixating on it, and the clarity will come. Okay. And lastly, we have, by your words you are justified, and by your words you are condemned. So this has a lot to do with perspective and the narrative that you're putting on things. Okay. And so I feel like there's that judgment coming through. It's like, what are you saying? What are you telling yourself about this? Because that's what it means to be a co-creative aspect of your incarnation is, it's like the lines are kind of there with your template and your blueprint, but how you choose to color it in is up to you. And it's not like, being dissociative at all. That's not what I'm saying, but it's like everything can be either used to deepen you into suffering and into karma, and the same things can be used to set yourself free. All right. That's what the guides are coming through and saying with this. So lastly, the last message is, I'm a grateful receiver to the bountiful gifts given to me by an infinite universe. So even just saying, like, I feel like this is really, about, we can't really become free. Like, we don't know we're in a cage when we're in it, right? It's like, we don't always know we're in a cage if we're comfortable. And so there's been a significant amount of tension that's been created in this area, and that's been like forcing these like uncomfortable thoughts and feelings up to the surface that you've been battling back and forth and being like trying to deny it, trying to like confirm it. There's a lot happening on the level of the mind, which is taking you deeper into your insanity. Okay, and so I feel like just coming from that level, the eternal child of just like, okay, thank you. What is this supposed to show me? There was a point where I was so grappled by something that was really gripping my heart, soul, and everything. And like the intensity of my yearning to be set free. I remember being like, please help me see the higher perspective. Please help me see the higher perspective, because I felt like shit. And I knew the degree to which I felt like shit was the degree to which I was not seeing something clearly. And so I feel like you guys are in a similar situation where it's like, asking for that. Like, come on, I just want to get to the root of this. Like, our guides want to help us, but they can only help us to a certain extent. And then it's us, we have to ask for their permission, or they are overstepping the law of free will, and that comes with its own karmic repercussions. So you guys got to ask for deeper clarity. But I feel like a lot of situations will start to make sense to you, and the level that it's going to make sense is not from the it wouldn't, I feel like, fully abide by 3D law, because it's a very spiritual kind of thing as well. That this pertains to. All right. And it's all gifts. It's all walking you home, right? It's like, by your words, you're justified or you're condemned, and it's all up to you. All right, pal number 1, thank you so much for tuning into this. If you did choose this pal today, is there like a rock or like a stone? Like, can we leave that down below? I don't know what else we would leave, unless like a clown emoji. I don't know, because Eternal Child reminds me of laughing. I don't know. I'm not calling guys clowns. Okay, I'm going to leave this here for now. I do hope to see you on my channel again soon. Much love. Hey, pal number 2, welcome to your reading for what fears and misperceptions you are currently in the process of overcoming. I've already shuffled your moon card back in this deck, and we're going to get into everything else real time together. But before we do, I'll have you take a deep inhale into your low diaphragm, allowing your low belly to expand fully, and see if you can suspend your breath at the top of that inhale. And when you're ready, go ahead and release, feeling your shoulders relax as you become more centered and present in your body. All right, pile number 2, let's get started. So what fears and misperceptions are you in the process of clearing? You guys actually had 4 of these cards come up today. Okay, so first we have High Wraith, longing for home, and homesick for the stars. We have the Void, stop, embrace winter, great cosmic womb. Yeah, so I'm getting a sense of, it's interesting. It's almost like, it's almost like opposite ends of the same wormhole or something, like going through this void and coming out somewhere beautiful. So we'll have to get definitely much more insight with the other cards that come up, so it's a more coherent reading. But right away, what I'm getting is, like, I heard when I saw this, like, doesn't belong, or feels like they don't belong. Yeah. And I feel like there's a longing to make it through whatever current confusions or darkness you guys are currently in. And maybe it's even the feeling that when things start to feel beautiful and like, yes, things are going good, it's like we end up here. It's like maybe even a back and forth between, this beautiful energy and then these pitfalls, these moments of darkness, these pockets of darkness, which is very normal, Okay, so let's get deeper in. We have the Shapeshifter. We have the Temple. We have the Mirror, and we have the Destroyer. So something is ending, something is dying, okay? The current fears and misperceptions that you guys are currently working through, I feel like there might be a clinging onto this energy, and it's like on one sense I'm getting the yearning to want to break free of this, but the second that you start to feel a little bit maybe too free, like you're freer than what you might be used to. It's like the fear and this energy of maybe not really trusting yourself, or not really feeling like you can fully give into life and fully lean into the magic that's happening in your favor. It's like the fear shapeshifts into something else. And it's like the second that you defeat one, or you feel like you overcome it for an amount of time, it is reflected back to you in a different way. It's interesting that we have the moon here with this shard of glass, okay? So, yeah, I feel like there's this back and forth energy between being in your temple and being in this very beautiful space, and then it's almost like you kind of convince yourself out of it, or there's a sense of like it's not going to last, or, you know, and I guess it depends on just your perspective of how you think things ought to be, or how you think things should go, which might be creating this kind of dissonance within you. It might even be like a shattered understanding of how things should be. Like, what are you allowing into your temple? Like, who is speaking these things into your heart of like life should be any type of way than how it is going? We'll get a little bit deeper with the tarot. But I am getting this sense that you guys are longing to stay in this place of like feeling centered within yourself, deeper than you are able to, or it's like the second that you start to feel this prolonged, you might be judging when this you're in this state of serenity and peace, and you feel like you're floating above the clouds, and you can feel the presence of the divine within your experiences, and then it's almost like something sneaks in to kind of take you from that. You know, it's like you start merging more, and or having a much more peaceful balance with the 3D and the 5D, not having too much weight in one over the other. And then I feel like something tries to pull you back into like your worries and your fears. Let's see what this has to do with in particular. Okay, let's get more information for pile number 2. Fears and misperceptions they're currently overcoming. Yeah, this could also just certainly be just about like how you see yourself. Like, you're also changing, you're evolving, and you're shifting into something else. And so what the reflections you're getting from other people might just be, I don't know, different than what you're used to, or making them uncomfortable because you're showing up in a way that they just aren't familiar with. Yeah, I feel like, too, this is saying, you know, the degree to which we feel like we're out of place is also akin to the degree to which we're not living as true to ourselves that we could, because we're like shape-shifting and appearing for people in the way that we feel like we ought to. And so there might be a sense of like, maybe you guys have become very active too, and just need to take a pause within yourself to really reflect on, just like spending time in your own energy field to really get straight with what's yours and what's just rubbed off on you, you know, from other people. Yeah, because the temple does remind me too of the hermit energy and taking time to go within yourself. Yeah, okay, so let's see what else is coming up. So fears and misperceptions for pile 2. Okay. We have the Empress. We have Strength. The Tower. Wow, all 3 major arcana already. 5 of Swords. Knight of Pentacles. And 8 of Swords. Yeah, so the Tower and the Destroyer cards definitely have similar energy. So there might have been something that kind of disrupted your home life, your family life recently, or your sense of stability within yourself, or just your understanding of life, feeling very confused about why this happened and like, what does this say about me? Because oftentimes in the spiritual communities, we're taught that if something bad happens, that means we're doing something wrong, which could not be more toxic, and just, peace and love. But that shit is whack and not how it works. But, the underlying reasoning of this, I feel like, is to reveal to you your tenacity, your perseverance. Even though I feel like you guys are quite tired of it, is really what I'm getting from this. It's like you just want to chill in your energy and just vibe and like have things work out or be good or whatever. Yeah, it's almost the sense of like once things start getting really good, and I don't want to say like, and then you start to feel prideful as if in a negative way, but I feel like once, you start to feel a certain way about yourself that feels really good, or about life and the way it's going. And then it comes crumbling down, or just a different layer is released, or, something comes in really very fast to reveal something to us. And with the Five of Swords, it generally has to do with like, the way that things are. Maybe we've been creating much more of like an unrealistic fantasy of how good they are, like staying in things that aren't like as good for us as we've been pretending them to be, or like wishing them to be, or hoping them to be. And so there even might be this sense of like, I am getting a lot of kind of mutable type of energy with this, of not staying in something too long, or not getting too comfortable in something. Fears and misperceptions. Yeah, I feel like a current fear, or this could also have to do with, like making the wrong decision about selecting something. Yeah, so strength and its detriment can allude to, it's, in terms of perseverance, it is a very positive card, but the other aspect of strength to remember is that sometimes we can stay in things longer. Like there's almost a pride of like turning a different way, or like admitting that we need to stop something, or admitting that we need to take a break and turn within more. Because there just might be a series of things that just feel like they're falling apart, and you might not be sure why. And it's almost like this cosmic redirection is wanting to happen. And I feel like you've been very devout and very dedicated in wanting to do the right thing. And I feel like there's just a level of depth that Spirit is trying to guide you deeper into. And these things might be happening. You might be confused why certain events are happening, or why it seems like one thing after another seems to be falling apart. And it's not a punishment. There is a reason for it, but it's not to punish you. There's a deep redirection that's wanting to happen, okay? With the going into the great cosmic womb, into the void, taking a break, releasing your ideas of who you should be and why. And, it's like having to go through that winter, that destroyer type of energy in order to make it out on the other side, to where you feel like you have found your temple, your place. And understanding that temple and that place is always within you, and as when you're tuning into it, it's gonna like it's so much easier, right? You're just navigating life so much easier, because you're not staying in things out of obligation, or out of duty, or out of like because you want to be famous, or because you want to make whatever these reasons. And I feel like for you guys, I don't think it takes long for you to like notice you've come off track through external and maybe even internal things falling apart or not making sense anymore. But there's like a loyalty that with the Knight of Pentacles brings, this sense of devotion to the path and not giving up and just honoring what this journey entails. And it's not easy, right? Can be kind of elusive. The mirror also reminds me of smoke and mirrors, which is also the moon type of energy. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors that we're navigating all the time here, and seeking clarity within more. Yeah, it helps us not be so distraught when these things fall apart more. And for many of the people that I work with, it really is the case that external is like secondary to the internal, and depending on, it's going to be different, right? For everyone, the degree to which we came here mainly for our own exploration versus to help with the collective, right? And it's going to be different, the degree to which our internal world is highlighted versus our external world being highlighted. And I feel like your internal world is much more highlighted than maybe many beings, because you're connected to a home, or you remember a home that is not Earth and that does not feel like Earth. And so I feel like this is really saying that there is just like a very specific role that you are here to play. And so maybe it's like when you start to get really comfortable, you're like, can I really trust this? Like, I start to get really comfortable within a dynamic or within a situation, and I start to like find myself, and I start to feel like, just like good, and then it's taken away or something. And so there's like confusion. Why does this keep happening? Am I self-sabotaging? Am I, what is it? But it's like keeping you on a consistent path, a very specific path for a very specific reason. And the more that we're tuning into ourselves, we can kind of like lean into this more mutable type of energy. What is it? Virgo, Pisces, Sag. What's the other one? There's 4, right? Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius. I can't remember the other one. Gemini? Yeah, the mutable, right? I think so. So you could have a lot of those signs in your chart for sure. Yeah, but I feel like there is a lot of confusion with this 8 of Swords type of energy, or a lot of like 8 of Swords is making things up that might not necessarily be true about a situation or about a series of events. And whenever, in general, I feel like whenever your guides are just like, these catalysts just happen more and more. So the time between us starting to feel confused, or the times we start to feel like something's not working, and then them just falling apart becomes shorter and non-existent. Like the falling apart doesn't need to happen anymore, because we're heeding those intuitive nudges, right? It's like the second that we start to feel something changing, we go into ourselves, we go into our temple, we surrender to the great cosmic womb and the darkness and the whatever destruction needs to happen, because we know it, through that we're only going to start to see something more clearly, our situations, ourselves, and it's trying to move us into a different direction for a reason. And it's like, I feel like whatever is going to happen, this is really highlighting right now, this is being highlighted in the reading, because it's like whatever is going to happen is going to happen, right? I feel like you guys are very in tune with the divine feminine nature of reality, which is, the great cosmic womb, right? And that from which everything is born from. I feel like you're in tune with it. And so it's like, you do that anyways. It's kind of hard to describe this energy, but it's like, shit's going to happen how it's meant to happen, right? Especially for you guys. I feel like, I feel like it's just you could be enjoying the process a lot more if your ideas around yourself and why these things are happening weren't as chaotic in moments. But, that's a big part of why these things are written in our soul's blueprint, right? Because then we're a much more open vessel for spirit to work through, to be these servants or whatever at this time, these light workers, whatever you want to call it, starseeds. these seeds of light all over the planet. You know, it's easier for a soul stream to come through and for spirit to work through us when we're not so attached to our ideas around why things are happening. So let's see what else is coming up for current fears and misperceptions. Whosoever calleth on the name of the Lord, which in this book is the same as law. So whosoever calleth on the law shall be delivered. You can call it the law of love, the law of one, whatever you want to call it. I feel like this has a deep link to the temple energy, and maybe even asking for guidance, right? With calling on the law, being delivered. What is that? That's truth. Okay, asking for clarity around a situation, and learning. I feel like these moments of the temple, the tower, you know, kicks up this kind of Eight of Swords energy. We see where maybe we've been selling ourselves short. Generally, that comes after the tower moments happen. We're like, oh yeah, that actually didn't fit me in the first place. And so, you know, you're just more likely to move when you're called to move. I mean, you can already feel those shiftings. And so you don't need these great, you know, burned bridges and these huge detours to happen as often. These maybe more externally uncomfortable situations. Because you're actually heeding more, you know, or you're like, okay, I'm just going to trust this a bit more. The more that you strengthen that inner trust, that heart, that temple within, the less all of this other chaotic stuff is going to happen, where I feel it starts in your mind, and then externally something happens to where it's like, it's very obvious that we should have followed our intuition, should have, you know, whatever the fuck that means, because sometimes through this contrast, then we get just better at, you know, not needing, I don't know, the more that we don't follow our intuition, we're like, fuck it, I should have followed it, you know? And so we're a lot more likely to be like, okay, I know better now, you know? And so you're making decisions better, or just more in alignment than maybe previously. And next we have, let me now express the divine idea in my mind, body, and affairs. Yeah, so I mean, I feel like that's exactly what we've been talking about, is not being in this place to where we are questioning why these things are falling apart so much, and we're just letting the cycles of nature, the cycles of law, the cycles of, you know, 3D with 5D kind of play themselves out through us, and not really making it mean anything, you know, negative. But this is understanding the divine idea. Another way of saying that is your divine blueprint. Let me now express it. Let Pal 2 now express it through mind, body, and affairs. Okay, and not be so worried about these things crumbling, and, you know, these aspects of your life that seem like they kind of, I don't know, I get the feeling that you might wonder if there's something wrong with you, that things don't work out how you think, how you like assume they will, or you assume they should. It's like, I'm getting the sense that your life doesn't maybe really look like what a lot of people around you it looks like it feels very unique. Like, you could have some aspects like kids, whatever, you know, but I'm getting this sense that it's maybe not as you anticipated it to be. And so I feel like that's where the disconnect is like, you don't give up your dreams, but maybe considering that those were planted there from the outside in versus like inside out, and understanding, you know, when we're just more in alignment with that divine idea, we don't question it, and we trust it more, right? I shouldn't say when you're in alignment with it, you don't question it, but it feels right, you know, regardless of how different and unique it looks, and regardless of how shattering it can tend to be over and over and over again in all areas of our life. So pile number 2, I'm going to leave this here for now. If this resonated with you today, maybe leave a lightning bolt in the comment section if you don't want to share anything else. And yeah, I do hope to see you on my channel again soon. Much love. Hi, group number 3. Welcome to your reading for what fears and misperceptions are you currently in the process of clearing. So we have some tarot cards here to clarify as we go. I haven't looked at any of these cards yet. We're going to do this real time together. Before we get started, I'll just have you take a deep inhale into your low belly. Feel your low diaphragm expand. See if you can suspend your inhale at the top. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and release that inhale. Feel yourself come into your body even more and relax into this present moment. All right, so let's get started. What fears and misperceptions are you currently in the process of clearing? Group number 3. We have Messenger, Sirius energy, bringing harmony and balance, which is interesting because I'm actually filming this during the Sirius gateway. Interesting. Yeah, the beginning of July, the first week of July is said to be the Sirius gateways when it opens and the energies are the most potent, and then that leads into August. I think it's like mid-August. And next we have Earth, learning how to be human in the world but not of it. Current fears and misperceptions. I feel like it has to do with speaking your truth, and maybe honestly it's probably because you tend to have a very different, unique way of seeing things. I feel like you guys are individuals that can sniff out the corruption in the systems, and so like when you talk about it, maybe there's like a fear of like being like a conspiracy theorist or something, or being mislabeled or like misrepresented, or just people misinterpreting your best of intentions. Okay. Yeah, I feel like too, it's like you see the corruption, you see these things that you don't like on the planet, or maybe necessarily you don't jive with, like how it seems like people are very taken advantage of and don't even see it. And so I feel like there could be a tendency for group number 3 to maybe become so like active, or just like such an activist that you tend to lose yourself in it a lot. And I feel like it's almost polarized. Like I'm sensing that some people are on the side of that polarity in terms of like being such rooted in such activism and a very active force, and very active in the 3D realms and sharing their message, which is great. And then maybe some people are on the side of things where they aren't speaking up, or they aren't sharing their message, which is great also. You know, whatever side you're on, you know, the root of this are your fears and misperceptions. And so, you know, on one hand, it can be taking this play a bit too seriously. I think on both ends, it's taking it too seriously, right? Of like feeling like there's this world that we need to change, right? Forgetting that it's an in to out kind of thing, you know? And then also the side of it of, okay, so sorry, the energy recently has been so insane, you guys. I don't even know how to explain this. Brain farts left and right. Like the brain is like switching off more to just be like present, heart space, spirit oriented, right? So on one side, I feel like there might be people like super active because they're taking it too seriously, and then like not super active because they're also taking it too seriously, but from the standpoint of like fearing so much what people are going to say. And it's like, I don't know, there's so many different like things that you can dive into in terms of other people's perceptions of us, but the main one that's coming through that Spirit's offering me right now is no one really gives a fuck, you know? Like if anything, you know, the people that really need your message are going to get it. And I feel like there's a lot of people ultimately, I feel like, that could benefit from pile number 3's message, and just seeing where you might need to find balance within yourself, depending on where you're showing up on this end of the spectrum. Like how, like what part of it are you taking too seriously, and where can we release that a little bit so the message can come through a bit more seamless? Because, you know, this reminds me of like Hermes energy, which is messenger of the gods, right? So it's just like almost like the messenger of divinity. It's just bringing through. It's not like you speaking of these things. It's just you kind of being a vessel for these higher messages to become grounded on the earth plane too. So I feel like that is also like a big aspect of this is maybe just being too cautious of what you say because you're worried how people will interpret it. But I feel like the more just like you just let yourself be utilized as that kind of vessel of like, okay, whatever's wanting to come through, I'm not going to claim ownership of it. You'll just notice that it's like delivering to the collective what they need when they need it, and you're just literally the vessel. And so it's removing that like infusion of being so invested in how people are receiving it, and is it getting a lot of attention or whatever, and just coming back to the most important part of this whole thing, and it's just to like be in flow with what's coming through and to releasing the fruitages, right? The entire Bhagavad Gita is essentially about that, karma yoga. So whatever you're guided to do and whatever guided way that you're guided to express yourself, it's like, let it come through you and then release it. Doesn't matter if one person saw it or 1 million, you know, it's gonna, like that one person could go on to affect however many, and we don't ever really know from this level how we are, you know, how that one person, we're actually also affecting, you know, the 2 million people that other person's affecting, you know, because they came across your message, right? So that kind of thing, the interconnectivity of it, you know, not getting so lost in it, not needing to claim ownership or to be seen or recognized or whatever, like releasing all that bullshit, but also understanding the more that you're kind of floating between these realms, neither here nor there, the more that your messages become much more pristine and tuned in and less filtered through like what we think other people want to hear or something. But yeah, there could just overall, I think you guys are just like beings of high integrity. And so it's like, you just like care about how people are receiving your messages, and there's nothing wrong with that. And like, you can just trust yourself, right? Your heart's in the right place. So next we have the comic. Yeah, taking things a little bit more lighthearted, not taking it so seriously, maybe even allowing your work to be infused with a bit more humor. Also, I just heard like being afraid that people will think you're a joke or like think you're just like a Looney Tune or something like that, you know, could be one of the fears and misperceptions that you're currently battling. Maybe you are putting yourself out there more and it's not being received the way that you thought it would. This goes along with the territory of like clearing, you know, the karma, untethering yourself from these illusions, which is the same thing as like misperceptions, just illusions. You know, we will be met with some reflections that are just to show us where we're still able to be triggered, you know, and those reflections are not needed as much. Those catalysts are not needed as much. They won't come around. I shouldn't say they're not needed because I don't know how the fuck it works, but speaking from experience, it comes around a hell of a lot less when, you kind of don't care if they're showing up and you're like, all right, that's cute, whatever, you know, on to bigger and better things kind of thing. Like not taking those people, you know, they're just kind of showing where they're at, you know. The bardo, fears and misperceptions. Okay. And the seed. All right. Yeah. So some sort of like rebirth I'm kind of seeing in the way that you communicate. Maybe you're even just being guided to express more or something, or the bardo represents the in-between worlds, and the seed kind of to me represents like a new beginning of sorts. And so maybe even like you didn't take yourself fully seriously, or maybe that's something your guides are bringing awareness to, of like you have been taking this like more of a joke, or it's easy for you. I'm getting the sense of like it's almost like you don't see how important your message is, or you're afraid of like, there's, yeah, obviously fear, because that's what the reading is about, but there's a fear in terms of putting aligning fully maybe with this mission and this expression that's wanting to come through you, because there's a fear of it not working out, or there's a fear of other people not taking you seriously, or it's like I'm getting this sense of you guys maybe not fully investing in this path. And then this higher calling is kind of what this represents to me, because there's like a worry of like officiating yourself, or like just being seen in a certain way by other people, because I am seeing an I here, being seen in a way, or being like labeled a certain type of way because of the things that you're guided to talk about that are actually like you. It's like a fear of like just showing the world your true self, but it's like, you know, that's the only way you call in your true tribe, and they will come, like the people that do understand you will come, but it's like they won't if you're not trumpeting, if you're not sounding off who it is that you truly are. And so I feel like there's like this in-between kind of neither here nor there that is accentuated here, and I don't feel like it's necessarily a negative thing. However, you know, this is just currently the fears and misperceptions you're working through. It's like, do I want to like kind of not take myself seriously, my role seriously, or do I just want to be like, you know what, fuck it, like I'm going for it? And so it's like, what side of that do you want to be on? Because these both kind of like allude to this kind of floaty energy, and it's like that floaty energy can be used to our advantage or a disadvantage. You know, it could be our detriment when it's like we're not wanting to lock into something, or we're kind of like diluting our message so we're received by people that we grew up with or something, versus like, you know what, fuck it, like I'm not gonna like tiptoe around who I am anymore. I'm still gonna have fun, and I'm still, you know, I'm gonna bring through my message, but it's like the place you're sitting at is different. You're taking yourself seriously. You're recognizing the just your impact more, I guess, when you're more in this realm of seeding this new beginning. Or I feel like too, this is saying that the current fears and misperceptions that you have are, you know, maybe no one will take you seriously or something. And so, or you're not really seeing the results. Like maybe you even feel like a joke because you don't really see the results to the degree that you think you should, you know, and it's all just a clearing out process. I'm sorry, it's the 4th of July, so you guys might hear some fireworks, but not coming from my yard because I got some feelings about this holiday. All right. We're not going to talk about it, but, I feel like there's maybe even a fear of commitment of locking yourself into this timeline because of what it's going to reveal to you about yourself. And it's like having to meet those aspects of people. Like even sometimes I still notice this too, when I'm out around the regs, you know, I call them the regs, the people that you say tarot or something and you can just, you just see that look in their eyes, the glaze in their eyes. And I'm like, yep, you now think I'm that kind of person. And so even I noticed too, it's like, there can be this not really owning thing that actually makes us feel more of a joke to our own selves, versus when I'm just like, I just help people, you know, I help people recognize the deeper meaning of their life and the deeper meaning behind life in general. And when you just fucking own it, it's like, you're solidifying your roots even more. You're growing your roots even more. And, you know, your true self, you know, your true nature, your soul's blueprint. So let's see, what else do we have coming up for group number 3? Fears and misperceptions they're currently working through. I feel like too, it's just like, you know, there's going to be a lot of changes the more that you lock into this or something. The more that you just like put your energy, your time and your energy, you continue to seed and nurture this creative process or whatever this is. I feel like it has to do with, it's something that has a potential to take you far with this Knight of Pentacles. And I feel like it does have to do with expression in some sense and just like communicating how you see the world, which might be a little bit scary, maybe because it's like, I don't know, you're around people that just really don't see it how you do. But then, I don't know, it's so interesting because even when I just go on like TikTok or something, it's like crazy, because if I would have seen that like 10 years ago, I'd have been like, oh my God, there are so many people out there that, you know, think like me. But, you know, 10 years ago, I didn't have that. And so I felt like very alone in the way that I saw the world, you know. And so there can be a fear of expressing it and like, will people make fun of me? Well, you know, whatever, especially if you did have that kind of like, that in your blueprint, you know, people picking on you or whatever for various things, which I can definitely resonate with as well. You just like try to avoid that at all costs, you know. So let's see what else is coming up. We have the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Pentacles. We have the 4 of Wands. It could have to do with family, friends, people you grew up with. We have the 4 of Cups. Okay, so anytime I see like repetitive numbers, that's a significant energy. So the 4 cards talk about caution. Okay, caution in who we are, and just like it really is about not letting life. There's a highlight here about not letting life happen, and it's like playing it safe versus putting all of our chips on the table and saying, you know, fuck it, like what's the worst that could happen? And allowing yourself to embody more of that kind of carefree energy that the Knight of Wands kind of embodies. There's a lot of like that masculine active force that's coming through here too, with all of these like male or like more masculine energies. All right. So there's a lot of activity that is you're being guided to to do, and to not let things just happen on their own accord, to not settle just for okay, because this is the Fours do talk about that it can get better, but it's just about, you know, not being so aloof. Yeah, that's what we're getting, right? That was coming through about this, like, neither here nor there. And I don't necessarily think that it's like fully like negative, but you guys might just have that kind of like aloofy type of energy, which is not bad, you know. I'm not saying it's bad, but I feel like the fears and misperceptions you're navigating have to do with, like, the aloofness is almost being taken too far, in the sense that we're not stepping up to the plate to the extent that we could. And maybe that's part of your fear too, that goes with it, of like, that you could get something wrong, or that you could not live up to your full potential. And, you know, release any ideas you have about how anything should look. I am hearing, though, however, the fact that you're guided to this, this is something that you know, that it's time to step up to the plate. And this is like that final confirmation of just like fucking doing it. It's interesting. We have two eyes here. I see an eye when I see this card in particular. So it reminds me of divine vision. So like throats, third eye type of energy, being connected to, you're a visionary, and you're clairvoyant, you're clairaudient, you are claircognizant, you just know things. And so there could be a degree of like imposter syndrome that you might feel, like, who's going to take me seriously? That continues to come up. Your fear, pile number 3, one of the biggest misperceptions you have is that people won't take you seriously. But the more that you just speak, and the more that you just like express, because that's being highlighted with the throat here and the Father of Swords, is like you're going to surprise even yourself. And the Four of Cups, it's interesting too, because it can talk about greed, like holding things in for yourself. Like, don't hold this message to yourself. All right, this needs to come through you, to be shared with the rest of the world. I mean, because when you are on platforms like TikTok is its own thing. And so it's interesting I'm bringing it up so much. So maybe there's something you do over there. Maybe that's a place that you start dabbling in sharing your message. I don't know, because I never talk about it this much. But that's just one thing that I am really appreciating over there, is that people are just like, we're in the age of collective wisdom, in this age of Aquarius. And so share your 2 cents, because you never know how, you know, if that one video might go viral, or just, you know, how your words could actually deeply affect the lives of other people. And it happens very quickly over there. It can happen really easily, you know, having those videos that just like affect thousands of people, just all over this world. It's so beautiful, you know, and you really do start to see the interconnectivity of the human experience, and how we all need to play our part, and no part is greater or worse, bigger or smaller, greater than, less than any other. Next, we have the Five of Swords. Yeah, slicing through those misperceptions, those things, non-serving ideas we have about ourselves. Two of Cups and Death. Interesting note to leave off on. Yeah, I feel like one of the ways you see this, is definitely in your relationships. I feel like there's a fear of like how your relationships are going to change from this, and how people are going to see you. And, you know, it's one of those things of like, people that are in their truth and on the path of unearthing their truth will always support you on your path. You know, even if that guides them away from you, you know, to or away from them is what I mean. They'll honor and respect that, you know, and I feel like the people that might have negative things to say, it's like, okay, thank you for showing me the type of energy I don't have room for, and like, bye, you know, kind of thing. And so I feel like this is saying, you know, we have Bardo, we have 2 cards here that literally do talk about death and the underworld and huge transformation. And so I think holistically, this is really saying that if you make this, you know, 4 of Wands is like celebrating, like, yes, we're doing this. I'm really feeling that this is like your divine kind of confirmation to go for it. Express yourself, launch that program, launch that whatever, do the thing, whatever you're creatively guided to do and to put out there. Yes, do it. And it's going to deeply transform you in the process. And it's actually going to bring people to you that are much more on your level, that are much more reflective of where you are at. And that, yeah, your true soul family is what I get from this card. Maybe even romantically too. You know, like everything starts to take on this degree of being much more supportive of your true self, the more that you just like express it and let it come up. And you're not trying to force it, right? So these are channeled messages. I forget what book this is from. These were brought from the book The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. And I just really resonated with these messages. I have like 100, maybe over 100 of them that I sometimes bring into my readings. These used to be hanging up on my wall, you know. Yeah, okay, so yeah, and I think they were just like Christian Science based, but you know, I find truth in all holy books. So it says something about Jesus here as well. I'm just saying, okay. So don't make it mean anything. I'm not pushing anything, any agenda or anything. All right. Okay. So whatever. Disclaimer. Jesus Christ demonstrated his God power over and over again in order to convince his followers. He was teaching an exact science, the science of mind, the power of thought, the power of word. Yeah. Interesting that this also kind of reminds me of that, you know, something in the world, but not of it. Reminds me of something that isn't that coming, that comes from the Bible, right? And I often quote certain things from the Bible too, just because I grew up in America, and that's Christianity is like one of the most popular religions over here, but there is some truth in it. I went to VBS, that kind of thing. But don't identify with any one thing, right? But ultimately, this is really like, I feel like it comes back to this of not taking yourself seriously and like teaching an exact science. Like the more serious, it's like that, it's very delicate, like in the world, but not of it, but like taking your role here is serious and understanding you make a fucking difference. And the more that you embody that, and the more that you own that, and the more that you're like, all right, this is what I stand for, this is what I'm guided to say, the more that you are transformed in that process. Okay. It's not like wishy-washy kind of like wishful thinking, but it's an exact science, right? All the ascended masters were teaching this in their own way, this exact science of bringing forth your soul's blueprint of living true to your true nature. So we have God's gift to man as power and dominion over all created things, his mind, his body, and his affairs. By my word, I contact this power. Every burden is lifted and every battle is won. Interesting. So there's a lot here that talks about power, like owning your power, right? Your true God power, power of the spark of divinity coming through. And I am sensing that for a majority of you guys, there's that fear of fully stepping into this, or like, who are you going to share it with? Or what if my family sees this? Or, that kind of thing. And I feel like you'll be surprised. Okay. I feel like you'll be very surprised, because the place you're sitting in when you're speaking is vibrating at that level of truth. And so it doesn't really matter what you're saying. It's that place. You're speaking from your heart. You're speaking from your inner wellspring of wisdom. And so that's what is going to resonate with other people, not necessarily your words. Okay. Yeah. Not necessarily the word Jesus Christ or whatever. I'm not afraid of that, or just like weird about it, because I recognize the place that some people, not all, are sitting when they utilize these things or these phrases or these examples of certain ascended masters. It just resonates, right? And so there's so much here about mind, body, and affairs. Every burden is lifted and every battle is won. Yeah, so it's interesting that there's a fear to fully lean into this, because on the other side of that is really, I feel like, a version of yourself that you've always been waiting for, that you've always wanted, you've always believed in, but maybe never fully believed you could do this, or you could be that person. And I'm here to tell you it is fucking possible, because I've been that as well. Like, just like what, 10 years ago, just like in awe of who I am now. And it's only going through that repeated death cycle and leaning into those directions that I'm being guided, and getting rid of that idea of being an imposter, right? Or like, who is she? Who does she think she is? That goes away when you're really just, again, I'm just the vessel, because you're just making space, right? And you're utilized as such. And it doesn't take long before people are like, all right, I really trust this person, because you trust yourself. You trust yourself. You're taking yourself seriously because you know where it comes from. Every burden is lifted. Every battle is won. Yeah, it's like your energy speaks for itself. And I feel like you'll be like, God damn, why did I why did I wait so long? Why didn't I do this sooner? But, it's like the years that the locusts have eaten will be restored to you. The years that you feel like have wasted from, panning away to you, believing in these doubts, they'll be restored to you very quickly. All right. So pile number 3, I'm going to leave this reading here for now. If this is what you chose, if this is the pile you chose, maybe can we leave a worm? Is that weird? A worm or like a mouse in the comment section? I thought the worm, and I thought that'd be kind of funny because the other pals might be like, what? But yeah, if you chose this today, this is your reading, and I do hope to see you on my channel again soon. Much love. Hi, group number 4. Welcome to your reading for what fears and misperceptions you are currently in the process of clearing, okay? So before we get started today, I'll just have you take a deep inhale into your low belly, allowing your low diaphragm to expand. See if you can suspend that breath at the top. Hold it in for a bit. And when you're ready, go ahead and release your in-breath. Feel yourself relax into your body, into this present moment. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. I haven't looked at these cards yet, and these are for clarification, okay? So what is pile number 4? What fears and misperceptions are they clearing, please, Spirit? A new earth. It's happening. Keep holding the vision. Ooh, it's happening, isn't it? Yes, it most certainly is. With all this chaos and all the shadow that's being exposed currently, it can be easy to think that what's the point, or it's not working, but it most certainly is, right? And we have all paths lead home, inner authority, intuition, turn your gaze within. Yeah, to me, this is like an as within, so without kind of thing. Before I get too deep into this, I just saw 1:11 on the clock, by the way, but before I get too deep into this, I'm going to clarify with the rest of these cards. We have the orphan. Maybe, have you given up something, pile number 4? Or you're wondering if you should give up on something. Maybe you've been pushed to the edge. Maybe you feel like you've been forgotten, or your work is not important, or what's the use? Should I abandon this thing is kind of what I'm hearing. So this card makes more sense because I did see this flip over. I saw both of these flip over, actually. So yeah, I didn't lie. Like, I forgot that I saw them, but sorry. I did see some of your cards. But I feel like this is saying keep nurturing, right? We have keep holding the vision. If you've been wondering if you should give up on something, I feel like this is a hard no, you know? Like, this is like, don't give up completely on your vision. Maybe you're guided to like do something different or to switch it up, right? But don't give up on whatever your vision is in terms of how life could be, and how unique your life could be, and how beautiful it can be, and how unique and different and unplugged from the matrix it can be. I know there's certain things that we need to abide by in order to be like good citizens or whatever, law-abiding, whatever. But you know, that's not really what I mean, because you can live a life that feels very much so like very disconnected from the matrix, and you only have to do that like 5% of the shit that, you know, we all got to kind of like we have agreed to on a collective level, right? But ultimately, I'm here seeing that I feel like you guys might be nervous of if what you're doing is going to take you where you want to go, and there's many different ways that you could go about something or whatever it is that you want to bring into the planet, and there's many different ways that you can be successful on this earth, regardless of what they would have you believe with the mainstream, etc. And while I am also cautious of not putting too much of like, oh, there's a them that's against us, you know, I am cautious about saying that because, you know, so much of what creates our world is where we're putting our attention towards. That's infusing our intention for the direction of life, okay? So, but I am saying that, you know, I do want to bring to your awareness, or at least this is what the guides are bringing up, of like, you know, don't believe the disempowering statements, right? I guess, which is what the moon energy is all about. Don't believe, like, I just noticed that both of their backs are turned to me. They're looking forward. So like, turn your back on those things that would have you orphan yourself, orphan your vision. Turn your back on those inner voices. Turn your back on those people if you have to for whatever amount of time, and continue to nurture what you deeply feel that you're here for, to nurture this idea, this seed within you, that you are here to contribute to this new earth. All right, it is happening. It is shifting. Sometimes it has to get worse before it gets better. We're seeing that collectively, and I have seen it so many times in my own life, right before I have a new breakthrough or a new degree of freedom and fun. Sometimes it feels like everything's going wrong and everything's falling apart, and things can even get really dark. but the extent that they get dark is always met by so much more light. Okay, so you kind of surrender to that process. And so you guys might be fearing a new direction, or wondering if you should give something up, or like, maybe I should just get a normal job, or what, like maybe I should just give up on this. It's like, no, don't give up. Okay. And the unseen, your guides are working closely with you. Inner authority and intuition. Turn your gaze within. Okay. These are very parallel energies of following your intuition, and bringing you're creating something as a visionary that not too many other people can see, except other people that share a similar mission as you, people in your soul family, your star family. So this is just really continuing to nurture this thing, okay? Not giving up. Yeah, and understanding that what you are birthing is something that is coming from within. It's one of those things where it's interesting that I feel like we see so many things being applauded that are kind of just like, I don't know, just what they would like to highlight in the mainstream. Like, I feel like certain things are applauded because it kind of entices people off their path, maybe because they're like, ooh, this, here you're getting all this attention by doing this over here. And like, it's seen, you're feeling seen, right? But it's things that have like already been done, or it's things that, like, it's from the outside in, right? It's things that are coming from the outside in, versus I feel like the path that you're on might seem rocky at times and very elusive, which is what that moon energy is. It's elusive to us, and the next step is only made known to us when most necessary. And so that can be a hard path to take. That's the road less traveled. It's the one that a lot of people can't see. It's being born within, and so I feel like sometimes, no matter how long you've been on this path, I feel like sometimes, it can still be there of like, oh, well, maybe not feeling appreciated to the extent that your family member that has a normal job in the corporate world, might be getting a lot of accolades for, but here you are, you little fucking weirdo, pal, for, doing your own thing, but it's only a matter of time, okay? It's only a matter of time, and it's not even about proving anyone wrong, but it's about being so committed to that vision that only you have access to, because that's a type of prosperity that cannot ever be taken away from you. If it can be born on this plane, it will die on this plane, but the type of prosperity that you guys are bringing forth is one that cannot be taken from you, right? It goes with you. It's sourced from beyond this world and just beyond this plane alone. And so that's laying your treasures up where moth and dust will not corrupt, right? So yeah, I feel like you just might have fears at this time that have to do with this is really about your spiritual eye, right? Misperceptions. And maybe you're just believing a little bit more in what the illusions are trying to tell you at this time about what's possible, and not really seeing things yet, maybe to the extent that you want them to. Like, how could this really support me? How could this really, like, feeling like maybe even forgotten by your guides, or like, come on, like, I feel like I've been doing everything, what the fuck, like, but it's still in the incubation process, no matter how long you think you've been doing it, okay? It's like, we don't always know what the reasons and seasons are, and the reasons for the seasons are, and how long the season should even be, but just staying in tune with the sensation when you're doing what it is that you're deeply called to do. It's only a matter of time before we see those seeds sprout. All right, so let's get deeper here with does pile number 4 need to know about their current fears and misperceptions that they're undoing? Yeah, I'm also hearing you don't see the extent of the impact that you already have, that you're having on people. Like, there's a lot of people that I feel like are silent supporters, or that are watching you and that are in awe of you. Not that it matters, but again, I feel like just in this age that we're currently in as a collective, with the social media and the validation attached to the numbers, and our value that's attached to the numbers, what a fucking good job you're doing, and how many people actually do look up to you and do look to you as like this shining light, this shining star. And there's a sense of not giving up here. Some Aries energy I'm for sure picking up from this, very headstrong, steadfast, go-getter, beginner. Like, you know, Aries is like the first cardinal, right? So it's it's like the leader of leaders kind of thing. And so that can not only feel like a lot of pressure that we can, you know, put on ourselves to get things right when you can't get it wrong, but also it's understanding that, you know, I feel like even in these areas that are already seem very saturated, it's like you have a very unique perspective and a very unique flavor that you are to bring to them. Okay. And so, it's just, growing into your shoes. I feel like you have a big role here to play. Not that any role is any bigger or smaller, but maybe in some sense it's much more in the limelight, or something that many people will be like recognizing you for. It's like looking at this is your stage, right? You on stage and the whole world is watching kind of thing, especially with this Emperor energy. And so maybe it's like, I feel like you maybe have always felt part of your blueprint might be to work with a lot of people or to be known by a lot of people. And so if it's not here, but you feel it, then you're just like, what the fuck? Like, what's happening? But you're always being prepared, you know, never quicker or slower than meant to be. 11:11 on the clock. All right, so we have 9 of Pentacles. Yeah, you're being set up for success. I don't know why I'm going this way, but you're being set up for more independence than I think. I feel like maybe you don't even fully believe or know how much whatever you're working on does have the potential to make you very self-sufficient. That is a theme that continues to be reiterated, is self-sufficiency. Especially with the Emperor coming up in conjunction with the 9 of Pentacles. Like, yes, I feel like this is really going to set you free financially, spiritually, emotionally, and really set you on your throne, man, to where it's interesting because doesn't this look like a moon? And so where it's like nothing is like, there's no fear. Maybe this is supposed to be Mars, but I'm seeing that as like the moon too. So Mars and moon, both of those energies together is like, there's this like unfuck with ability that you will start to bear, you know, and sometimes the greatest roles have the most amount of fears associated with them, or even, you know, the people that you wouldn't expect to have certain anxieties or certain fears, you would be so surprised how many they actually do. But it's like they got there not because they didn't have them, but, you know, because ultimately their service to the planet outweighed what those fears were. And so what tweaks in perception, that could be a misperception too, is it's like too focused on self, or like, I feel like you guys ultimately have a heart to where you are just naturally giving and teaching and uplifting. But still there's that lens of, you know, self-consciousness is just when there's too much of a hyperfixation on how am I going to look, or like how am I being received? And when we can refocus it to how can I be of greatest service to these people that don't need you, but I want to play my part, you know? So, because if that person and that teacher didn't play their part, they wouldn't have activated me in a certain way. And, you know, I'm only this free today because of that person. And so you don't know who you're meant to be that for. And so, you know, making it like, okay, this is not about me. This is about them, you know, and your heart has always been there. But I think it's just this idea of like doing the wrong thing, right? That might be creating this fear, this hyper self-consciousness or something. Or like worried about what people are going to say about you, about being orphaned, this kind of 5 of Pentacles kind of energy that's coming through here. Next, we have Temperance. So yeah, a lot of healing and alchemization that is happening. So it might even feel like you can feel I'm getting the feeling of like bubbling sensation, like you're getting more and more excited about this. There's a sense of like, yeah, it's interesting that there's like questions of if you should like let it go, because I feel like it's the thing that makes you the happiest. Or we'll get deeper. Let's see what else we have. The 3 of Cups. Ten of Pentacles. Yeah, there's that community that you're definitely going to be affecting and creating on a tangible level. And we have the Five of Swords as well. I also saw the Sun underneath here. I feel like this is, yeah, we have the Moon here and the Sun here. This was a card, you know, a spread about fears and illusions and misperceptions with the Moon card. And then I did see the Sun highlighting here. And so I feel like it's not, it's like, it's just, you know, understanding that's a harmonization that's going to happen as you lean into it. The healing happens as you lean into it. We don't overcome these feelings by, you know, we don't wait until we feel like we're fully ready. You're never going to be fully ready for the journey that is, the journeys that are most worth it is what I'm hearing. Okay. But I feel like this is also saying you have more support than I think you realize. You have a deep connection to your guides. I'm seeing a connection here. A great connection with your guides and a great connection to other souls on the planet that are part of your soul group that are on a similar mission. And you guys are kind of like telepathically supporting each other and giving each other inspiration. I'm getting this well of like, it's happening, like an excitement is kind of what I was feeling with the Temperance card. Like something is welling up inside of me, feeling like it's more and more exciting. Like this idea of orphaning becomes less and less, like orphaning your path, or like wondering if I should go back to the Matrix or whatever, becomes less and less the more that you turn your back on, yeah, that was coming through. The more that you turn your back on that headache, you know, those headaches and just the repetitions of the what ifs. And yeah, I feel like the Five of Swords is like, 5 cards talk about how things actually are. Okay. Acknowledging the state that things actually are in. And I feel like in this sense, it's like, this is saying to not base what is possible based off of what you have seen up to this point in time, because what is in store for you is like much different than what you've ever seen before. And so there's a letting go. There's an orphaning. I think this orphaning energy might be a part of you that understands there's a version of yourself that you need to let go of, stories, timelines, relationships, people, ideas in general that are kind of like giving you a headache or weighing you down. Those are the things that need to be released, not your vision. There are things that need to be let go of, but I feel like you just might be confusing the parts that need to be released, or confusing what it is that you're meant to let go of. It's never your vision, but it might be those things that are impeding your vision that feel like they're supposed to be here, but maybe you're not being honest about what's meant to stay and what's meant to leave because they've been in your life. There's obligations, right? There's so many stories that we can have attached to these things. Let's see what else is coming through here with these channeled messages. I call upon the law of indifference. Interesting. That's what the Temperance reminds me of. I remain undisturbed by adverse appearances. I hold steady to the word of God, which is the word of truth, right? Just truth in general. On constructive thought, which always wins out. So yeah, I feel like you might be inviting the fears and misperceptions. I think you might just be inviting more confusion into your field than you need to. But by this alchemization process, you have the power to speed it up. By calling upon this law of indifference and remaining undisturbed by adverse appearances. So yeah, when it seems like, so maybe one of the reasons why you guys are like, should I give up on this, is because the finances or something, or because we have the earthly realms kind of highlighted here with these 2 pentacles. It's like something in your environment, right, is very loud at this time. That is suggesting to you, you're judging after appearances, which means you're taking the bait of what the outside world is telling you. You know, everything is born from the internal world. Everything is born of spirit. And I feel like this could just be one of those tests, those karmic tests that we sometimes meet, or those, you know, not even a test, but just like you're about to break through a threshold. And so sometimes things get a little bit messy and they break apart and like, you know, start seeming like they don't work right before they're about to click into place even better, like falling apart, something bad, or, you know, okay, falling apart to make way for something even better, so they can rearrange themselves in a much more in a way that actually supports where you say you want to go better, right? And so being undisturbed by whatever you might be seeing that might be making you feel that you're not actually on the path you're supposed to be, or that you're not as far as you actually are. Because I feel like, again, there was that sense of you not actually seeing how deep of an impact you're already making, regardless of what the fucking numbers might say, okay? Or just whatever, because you're affecting people more than you think, and you're showing up as a leader more than you think, more than you even know. Like, I'm seeing no one kind of like in front of you. It's like almost like you're just leading the way, and just like the perspective people have of you is someone that is leading them towards this new earth, okay? Yeah, with this community, it's like you're coming first. We did come here first. We started over here, and then we made our way this way. So this says, I ever hold the vision of my journey's end and demand the manifestation of that which I have already received. It's already done, right? My perfect health, love, supply, self-expression, everything is taken care of perfectly in the divine mind, the superconscious. So your soul's blueprint and the piece that you're meant to play here, and must come through me and not to me. Yeah, that's definitely something that the guides have been working with me. It's like a very subtle teaching they're kind of giving me right now, is the difference between things happening to me versus they're happening through me, through you as being the vessel of things. And when we own something as like, this is me, that's when we can actually subjugate ourselves to the law of karmic repercussions, versus when we like give up attachment to things, or we give up the fruits, as another word of saying it, of these things, good, bad, or ugly, right? And we just like see it from a very neutral standpoint, being undisturbed, whether good, bad, or ugly, we're undisturbed. We don't bind ourselves to the law of karma. Okay, the law of karma does not, we don't create more karma to undo because there's an attachment to the way things should be, or the way things have been, or the way we think that they should be, or, just there's that sense of self. The I is dissolving, the little I is dissolving into the big I kind of thing. And so this is very, honestly, powerful. This is a really great reading. Like, this is very positive. I feel like if anything, there's just a little bit of confusion because there might be things in your external world that might be making you believe you're not as far. Like maybe you're even, because self-expression is coming up here. So maybe it feels like you've had some like weird social, like, I don't know, like your social, whatever things with people might be awkward or something, or, it's not showing up how you think it should or something. But keep holding the vision is coming up twice. I ever hold the vision of my journey's end. You know how many of these I have in this jar? A lot, okay? And so there's like a not giving up, and you're on the right path, and don't question it. That could be the biggest misperception, is because something is not looking a certain way, or it didn't look how so-and-so's looked. It's not supposed to. You're playing a very unique role here, but you can trust that you were on your path, and there's no getting off your path, not to the degree that I see you guys are operating in the levels of consciousness you guys are operating, but just holding steady, calling upon the law of indifference, the law of temperance, not rushing things and not thinking they should be any way, and just like holding steady on truth, holding steady. It's happening. It's already done. It is already done. And I'm aligning to my highest timeline in each moment, and I'm releasing that which doesn't serve me, okay? Which, in this sense, it seems like your ideas about the way things are right now, and it can change. Things can change so quickly, you guys. Like, the things on the earth plane that seem like they're moving so slow, when you're operating from this level, and this type of alchemization is happening within your field, they can change so quickly. Do not underestimate how quickly things can change. Do not take your cues from the outside in. You guys are far beyond that, okay? The place that you guys, like the ascended masters I'm hearing, are working with you, all right? And so they are the ones to be like, that would tell you first and foremost, never take your cues from the outside, right? And that, wow, very powerful beings that I feel like are kind of helping you through this energy right now. Not judging after appearances. You're there. It's already there. And there's kind of just a removing of the impurities, which is kind of what you guys are feeling, this kind of weird energy moving through you, but just like stay true, meditate, contemplate, concentrate, meditate on the word of truth. All right. Everything's taken care of and it's coming through you. All right. Not to you. It's literally, it's all God, right? So like God coming to God, you can see it like that. But if anything, if it just helps release this over identification with self and circumstance, then through you. So I'm gonna leave this reading here for now. If this made any sense, any sense whatsoever, let's leave a sun in the comment section, just because that was really highlighted. If you guys have nothing else that you want to share. And I hope this brought clarity, confirmation, and peace to your heart, pile number 4. And I hope to see you again on my channel very soon. Much love.